Welcome to EdotGdot and Friends. My name is Elden Killian. I will be your host today, and today we will be talking about every game that I have played in the month of July 2021 and ranking them. If you like what you're seeing and hearing here, go ahead and like and subscribe and comment. Do all those fun things in the YouTube comments and whatnot. Anyway. Without further ado, let's go ahead and move on to our first game. I actually played quite a few games this month. And so we'll start with my least favorite game. I ended up playing the game of life. First time in a long time. I have played this game once before in the last 10 and a half years or so since I've been recording plays. I played this quite a bit as a kid. Like the game of life, like a lot of other games of this ilk, it suffers from just no meaningful decisions. The game of life does introduce a concept of making a few decisions. You get to decide right at the beginning of the game whether you're going to go to college or not. But then after that, it's basically just a roll and move. If you get lucky, there's a few other kind of minor decision points throughout the game, but none that really affect the outcome all that much. And say, Elden, why are you playing a game like this? If you're a big master gamer and whatnot, I have kids and I love them, and they wanted to play it, and they found a copy at a thrift store, and we broke it open and we played it. Anyway, we had a good time. It's just a terrible, terrible game. Terrible. As far as games go. Anyway. That was the game of life. Next, King of the Ring. This was just silly fun. This was a fun game. In fact, I'd probably classify this more as a toy. BGG has one rating, I believe, which was an 8, but not enough to make it into the rankings. I actually picked this up at Target for $2 on clearance. I picked up a couple things there on clearance, and this was $2, and so I grabbed it. Just a silly, kind of a clever little mechanism. It has a timer on it, and when the timer goes up, the middle pops up, and your goal is to be in the middle. And so they have these little flicking sumo wrestler toys that have a magnet on the bottom, and when they get to the middle, they latch on. And I don't know how the mechanism works in there, but once the magnet latches on, that's when the timer starts. So the timer only runs if there's somebody in the middle. And the other players, you're trying to knock them off by flicking your sumo wrestler and trying to knock them off and then get back on to the middle. Whoever's on the middle when it pops up wins. For $2, I've done way worse with $2 as far as the game goes. This is a very limited... but it was fun. In the moment I was playing it, it was a good. Killed 20 minutes flicking this back and forth, and playing it. Not a great game, but a good time. Anyway, King of the Ring. If you can find it at Target for $2, probably worth it. Sequoia. This is the lowest rated game from the big project I did this last month was I did a 24-hour 10x10. That is, I played 10 games, 10 times each in the span of 24 hours. Sequoia was one of the games that I played. I actually bought this game specifically for this idea. That I've had this idea for a while. And I also noticed I did not... Oh, no, that's right. Anyway... this game is pretty simple. I talked about it a couple months ago, but anyway, what you're doing is you're simultaneously rolling dice with other players, and then you're matching your dice up into pairs to pick numbers between 2 and 12, and putting your little Sequoia markers on there. And at the end of the game, you evaluate each number, and whoever has the most tokens there gets the points for that number. This is one of those games where this 10x10, you'll probably hear me say this a few more times. The idea was playing 10-minute games. Trying to play 10-minute games 10 times was about the right amount of time in order to do 10 different games 10 times. And as a 10-minute game, this works pretty well. But after you play it 10 times in a row, not so fun. It just kind of got tedious. It's the same thing over and over again. Like I said, if you're going to play this one time, probably a fine game. But I play like 6 or 7, very, very tedious. It's a lot of rolling of dice, and so the luck that's in there. It does have a kind of a clever little tiebreaker. So at the end, you might have some ties, and what happens is everything that's a tie just stays out on the board, and then you play one more round. And if the tie is ever broken at the end of the round, you win that thing. And that's kind of probably the best part of the game, because all of a sudden you might be tied on 4 things, on 4 different numbers, and when you're making your pairs, you can only go to 2 different places. And so as you make those decisions, you might just have a cruddy roll, and you're only limited what you can do. But then there are times when you have this like decision, okay, which one do I do? And you're simultaneously revealing, and there's a little bit of tension there. Anyway, Sequoia, my 23rd favorite game, out of 25 this month. 22? Snakes. I picked this one up at clearance at Walmart, which was interesting because this game just came out not very long ago. And I just happened to be walking through the clearance aisle, and I saw it there. I was like, oh, wow. So I picked it up pretty cheaply. This is from the same people who make Chameleon, which I actually haven't played, but I know games of this ilk that you are basically where one person doesn't know the answer. Everybody else does, and you're trying to figure out who's the person who doesn't know. This game, there's actually a couple people, depending on how many players you have, that know the answer. They're snakes, but their goal is actually to try to misdirecting everybody else to the wrong answer. So there's a multiple choice question. The snakes find out who it is, what the answer is, and then they're trying to misdirect the other players to get the wrong answer. The problem is, and the kind of the flaw of the game is, you're going to get a lot of questions wrong anyway, so the snakes are just going to score points because they're all like really random trivia, not something that you would normally know. So you're kind of guessing at stuff anyway. But it's kind of fun. We had a good time. We played it at the lake. Anyway, Snakes. On Board Game Geek says it's a Phil Walker Harding game, which who's a really great designer. And this seems kind of an odd game for him to design. But anyway, Snakes. Number 21, Good Tom, the Tricky Egg card game. I've talked about this one in the past. This is a trick-taking game, you're dealt 7 cards, but the first 6 hands are just all leading up to that last hand, because if you win the last hand, you keep your card as points, and you don't want points. However, if someone is able to hold on to the 1 card and play it in the last hand, everyone else has to take their card, and they score that many points. And it's an interesting little game to play. Strategy is tough because you're kind of limited to kind of a small hand size, and you don't have a ton of choices on your turn. If you can't go higher or match the card that was previously played, you must play your lowest card, which makes it really hard to keep that 1 if you do have it, which basically just comes down to luck, whether or not you had a hand that allowed you to protect that 1 long enough to end up to the end. And sometimes if you just dealt 7 like really high cards, there's not a whole lot you can do. You're gonna play and you're gonna have the highest card left over at the end, and you're gonna lose. Anyway, it is kind of interesting as a game. I've played this 5 times all the way through. I don't know if I need to keep playing it more. I feel like it's kind of revealed everything it's going to reveal to me. But if you like a light card, like trick-taking game, that might be a thing. You might want to try it out. I wouldn't say no if someone wanted to play it type of situation, but it is what it is. Number 20, Fuji Flush. This game I've played a ton, almost 100 times I've played this game. And this is another game that I played at my 24-hour 10x10. This game is silly, and it's again, this is another one where the strategy is kind of just a strategy, and it just kind of comes up to the luck of the game. But for some reason, it works in a lot of different situations for me, which is why it keeps coming out and getting played. Anyway, Fuji Flush. I've talked about it before. Number 19, Quantum. Quantum, from the makers of Quicks, and I think I've talked about this before, but in this game, you are rolling these dice, and there's one die that's a regular D6, 1 through 6, but the other ones have colors and numbers, and I don't know how they did the math to put that together, but it is. But what you're trying to do is, on your turn, you're going to roll the dice. You can re-roll one time any die that you want to re-roll, and you are trying to build your numbers going from low to high until you get to the 2/3 point, and then you're trying to go lower than there. And if you ever can't, when it's your turn and you're rolling the dice, if you ever can't put a number down, you have to X off. 5 X's, game's over. Or if someone fills out their entire card, the game's over. I played this one 10 times in one day, back to back to back. And I previously, I think, had only played with 2 players. And with 2 players, it goes pretty quick. It's kind of fun. I played it mostly with 3 and 4 players during the 10x10, and man, the game just slowed down in that circumstance. With 4 players, it just seemed like it took more than twice as long than it did with 2 players. And another one of those games where after like 3-4 plays, the strategy feels more like luck. The strategy, you get really bogged down. We're trying to make good decisions, but it's just hard to. It is kind of fun, though. It's a fun, because you're kind of pushing your luck. If you put kind of a higher number, because the way the scoring works, it's your second lowest number that scores in each column. So you kind of want to get bigger numbers, but if you go too big, then it gets too hard to go over that in the future. And if you're not linking up with other people, or you're kind of going for the same things, they're going to take up all the dice on their turn, because you can put numbers down on their turn. Yeah, I don't know. This is one of those games where playing it 10 times in a row was probably a mistake, and kind of burnt out on it. It was kind of tough, but I'm glad I played it in my life. I think it showed me some things. As an amateur game designer, you want to learn things from the games that you play, and there's something interesting about that number distribution, and there's something interesting about how it works. However, this is in the same line as Quicks and Quinto. Both of those games I'd probably say are better, and I think BGG agrees with me on that. This is the lowest ranked of those 3. Strike. This is another game I picked up at clearance at Target. I got it for $5. This is just a stupid game. I played this game 13 times in like 2 days. This was not part of the 10x10. But my stepson really, really enjoyed it. This game is all luck, but it goes so fast. It is what it is. So what happens is you're trying to be the last person with dice in your hand, and you're going to take turns, and you throw a die into the bowl, and if it comes up as X, it goes out of the bowl. If it comes up as any other number and it matches another number in the bowl, you get to take those up. So you kind of increase your hand size of dice, and you just keep going until somebody runs out of dice. It's really well designed. And I just realized I did not update this slide. I did this wrong. I think I played this more than 13 times. That's the same stuff. Yeah, I didn't change the designer and stuff. Anyway, so this is Strike. These numbers up here are incorrect. But anyway, yeah, I don't know. It plays pretty quick. It scales well from like 2. I played it with 4 players. I think it will play up to 5. Scaled well. Takes a little bit longer with more players. But I don't know. There's just some legitimately fun moments. It's a dumb game. Stupid. But also brilliant in its stupidity, which I think is its own accomplishment, right? So anyway, Strike. Makes the list here. This will probably come up again. Like I said, some of my kids really, really enjoyed this game. All right, everything on one card. This is another game that I played in my 10x10. And this is another game where playing it 10 times in a row, by like that 6th, 7th, 8th game, you start to kind of see some patterns emerge. You start to see the decisions get to be less interesting. But this is a game in which you roll the dice. You can roll them again if you want to. And then you have to take everything that you rolled, which are just shapes, and fill those out on these dry erase cards that you have. And you're trying to fill up the columns. There's some timing issues. Once you've filled up all 3 of a color on a card, you score the card. However, if you do it just right, it is possible to score all 6 or all 5 shape combinations that are on the card, which, you're kind of pushing that off because the game is over as soon as somebody finishes 4 cards. And so you're kind of going for bigger points, but you might be sacrificing someone who's kind of racing to the end of the game might beat you there. And even though you got lots of points for those cards, you might not have finished as many cards. You need to lose the game. It's interesting. Like I said, I like it better than Quantum. Anyway, this game I'll probably play some more because I think it fits some circumstances. Even though it's maybe not the best game in the world, I think it's novel. I think it is interesting in its own right. I wouldn't play it 10 times in a row again, though. But anyway, everything on one card. I have the German version, which is pictured. I believe the English version should be out soon if you're looking for it. Metro X. At the end of my 10x10, all the people I was playing with, after I'd been playing for 20 hours, bailed on me and I was all by myself. And so I played this to finish out because you can play it solo. This was interesting. It was I'd been awake for a long time. I had been playing games for a long time, and my first 2 games of this of the 10, I felt like I did okay, and then after that, my brain could not think. But this is an interesting puzzle. What you're doing is you're flipping over cards, and which will tell you like how many you can go, and some of them have like some special actions on it. But you're picking a train line, and you're going as far as you can. However, the train lines intersect, and so you might have gone far on one line, which then, when another line hits that station and there's already a mark there, you can't go past it. So even if you had like a 6, if you can only go 3 and then you run into a mark, you're kind of stopped for the most part. But anyway, this is an interesting puzzle. I do generally enjoy these type of things. There are 2 different puzzles that come in the box. And it might be interesting if there were more of those. I don't know if there exists an expansion for this game. But anyway, Metro X, pretty decent game. Quite enjoyed it. And will continue to enjoy it. Next, One Night Ultimate Werewolf. This is a game I've played a ton. I played this at the 10x10 with some different groups of people, came in and out. And I don't know, this game just works well for what it does. It's a quick deduction game. It gives you that werewolf feel without it being extended. The biggest problem with Werewolf, which is maybe one of my least favorite games in the entire world at this point, is you can get eliminated really early. The moderator's job can be frustrating, especially if you have people who are kind of being poor sports, or if you have a bad group, the game is not fun. If you have a good group, it can be fun, but you might have got killed in the first night and the game keeps going for another 45 minutes. This is not happening in One Night Ultimate Werewolf. One Night Ultimate Werewolf, everybody's in the game at all times. You might get a boring role, like be a villager, but even that is kind of fun because you still have a purpose. You're trying to figure out who the werewolves are. And in this game, sometimes your role changes, and sussing that out is its own kind of puzzling game. Anyway, my feelings on this one go up and down. Over the years, I've played it over 100 times, and right now, good game. And anyway, if you like Werewolf, if you want it to be a shorter version, One Night Ultimate Werewolf is a great pickup for you. Unlock. So I put the No Side Show here. It's actually from the 3. It's a 3-pack, the Timeless Adventures box, and I'd played the No Side one and the second one last month. I actually just yesterday, I'm recording this on the 2nd of August. On the 1st of August, I actually played the third one, so that will come up again. And The exit games, I've tried a couple of them. I really dislike them. These are like escape rooms in a box type thing. I don't like the exit games. I've tried them a couple times. Just really bad experiences with both of them. Somebody recommended Unlock to me. Said it's a lot better. I played it. I do think it is better. I'm still not sure. Maybe I'm not an Unlock game type of person, or like these escape room game type of person. Maybe that's just who I am. The two that I played last month, kind of the same issue. I got towards the end and got to the end of the puzzles, and I'd made a mistake earlier, an oversight of some sort, and working back to figure out what was wrong so I could figure out the final answer. Like I almost had solved something too fast and missed a piece of something that I needed that was going to come up later. And that was frustrating for me. However, the puzzles themselves I felt were more intuitive and made more sense and more fun than any of the exit ones I've played. I don't know, 10 of thumbs up for Unlock. This is one of the better sets, is one of the better rated sets on BGG. So maybe there's some other ones that aren't quite so good. I would buy another set and I would give it another go after this. But maybe not my favorite thing in the world. But it is what it is. Next, So Clover. Man, did I didn't update the pictures here. This is weird. A lot of mistakes this month. Anyway, which is too bad because the So Clover is kind of an interesting game. I actually have it right here. I'll show it in my thing. I thought I had it right here. Where is it at? I just played. Oh, it's probably down here. Anyway, I can't grab it right now. Anyway, this is a word game. If you've played Just One or even like Codenames, very much in the same vein. So what's going to happen is, but I'll tell you what I like about this one. You get this little plastic thing. It looks like a clover, a 4-leaf clover. And then you have like these funky like cards that have holes in the middle that kind of slide in there and they hold in there. I don't know if this is the greatest design of all time because I actually found it kind of hard because it actually recommends in the rule book that everybody do it at the same time. So everybody grabs their own little plastic thing, puts 4 cards in there at random. And then what you do is on each side of the clover, there's 2 cards. And you were trying to come up with a 1-word clue to get them to get those 2 cards in the right position. And you do that all the way around the clover. And then, if you're playing with more than 2 players, you take turns looking at each other's thing. You throw in a distractor card, you shuffle them all up, and they try to get the cards in the right position. You get 6 points. If you get it on the first try, you get them all 4 correct. Otherwise, you take off the cards that are incorrect, they get another go, and they get 1 point per card that they have correctly, and you're trying to get the best score possible. I played this 4 players, and we got like a 17 out of 24. 24 would be the best score. I think we ended up with 17. It was pretty fun. I played a bunch of this 2-player with my wife and with my friend Steve, and I really like the game Just One, and it gives me a lot of the same vibes as Just One, but you can't play Just One with 2 players. I'm on the record, like Codenames is a great game. Codenames Duet, the 2-player version, is my favorite way to play the game, and So Clover allows me to do that. It's like a Just One type experience. It's a different game, different rules, but the same feel, but I can play it with 2 players. And it works really, really well with 2 players because both of you can make your clues, and then you can swap your boards, and the other person figure it out, and then, there's no like downtime, there's no like weird, everybody's always doing something. And it goes pretty quick. Anyway, yeah, good game. So Clover, this was a new to me game. I did play it a bunch of times. I think all the information there on the screen is correct. Just those pictures. I didn't update the pictures when I copied over the slide. Anyway, and this seems to be going under the radar. I haven't heard a lot of other people talk about it, but I think it's an excellent game for this style of game especially. And if I keep playing this might go up in my rankings. Anyway, Fuse. This is another game I played in my 10 by 10. I've played this game quite a bit. It is difficult. We played it 10 times in a row. I think we only won once. It's hard. You have 10 minutes, and you're trying to pull out dice and fulfill the requirements on cards, and it's cooperative. So you're trying to decide who gets what die, but you're trying to do it really fast because you only got 10 minutes. Anyway, it's hard, but just a ton of fun. It's a little stressful if you have like anxiety issues. Might not be the game for you. But anyway, Fuse, great game. We'll play it some more in the future, I'm sure. Ecos, the First Continent. I actually got this game for free. I won a prize with the podcast Blue Peg Pink Peg, and I sent in an entry for this competition. They sent it to me, and so I got it played. Definitely a solid game. It reminds me a lot of another game. I want to say Ave Caesar, which is not the name of the game. That's what you yell out. But like a gamer bingo type thing. So what's happening is you have this draw bag, and everybody has these cards that want different things to get drawn out of the bag. So your draw mat has a sun, it has a grassland, it has water drops or river. Anyway, it's water. Basically, you bring these out, and you bring them out one at a time. You announce to everybody. Everybody marks it on their card. Once you finish a card, you get to do a thing. And a lot of the things are either changing the map on the board, adding animals to the board if you can, adding landscape features like mountains or trees. And what you're trying to do is you're trying to create, with some of your cards, trying to create a layout that is advantageous to the cards that score points for you. So when you finish those cards, you can turn around and say, okay, so I scored 10 points from these hippopotamus that are in this configuration, and then it's just kind of a race to get to 60 or 80 points, depending on which, whether you're playing a short game or long game, but it plays basically the same. I did kind of foobar a couple of rules that we kind of figured out mid-game, and we corrected. And so, but pretty good game. The other game I was talking about, which I can't remember, I actually don't love that game very much. This is definitely a better version of that same idea of like this bingo type thing where you're pulling things out, finishing the cards to score points. I just think there's a little more interaction. There's a little more building that map is really cool with the tiles and adding the animals to it. And, you know, I don't know. I need to play it some more. Anyway, but big thumbs up. John D. Clare, this is the same guy who did Cubitos, which is another game I've really enjoyed lately. And anyway, really good. Good game. Ohanami. I got to play this a couple more times, and I'm just enjoying it more and more each time I get to play it. This is a really simple card drafting game where you're passing your hand of cards, you're taking 2 of them, adding them to your gardens, which you can have 3 of. However, the numbers have to go low to high. However, you can build off of both ends. So if I put a 50 card down, my next card going up could be a 56 or whatever. But then I'm cutting out the numbers in between on that garden. But I can start another garden if I need to. But then I can go below 50 also. And I can build on all 3 of those at the same time. Each round, different things score. Like blue cards score like 3 points per card, but they score every round. Gray cards score 7 points per card, but only score in the last round. And so you're just kind of building up these tableaus, and the one strategy I always like to go is pink only scores at the very end of the game, and it depends on how many pinks you get. So 10 pinks is worth quite a bit more than 5 pinks, and 15 pinks is worth a ton of points. And so trying to get 15 pinks is always my goal. But if somebody else is also going for pinks, they're going to mess that up. So then you have to kind of adjust what you're doing. Anyway, I really like it. As a really simple card drafting game, great game. Definitely looking forward to playing this some more in the future. Similo, this Similo is just becoming one of my most played games. Works in a lot of situations. I can play it with my kids. I can play it with adults. You can play it with a group. You can play it with 2 people. It's a cooperative guess my card type game where you have a limitation in the clues that you can give. Excuse me. And you're trying to get the secret card. I have 5 different sets. I have the fables, the myths, the history, and there's animals and wild animals, which seems like a weird distinction because some of the animals are not wild in the wild deck, and some of the animals are wild. And what does wild mean? Domesticated, non-domesticated. I don't know. It seems to be like more like African type elephants in the wild animals deck, but I don't know. I definitely think that the animals decks, which are the 2 newest ones that came out, are easier. I tend to win more often with those 2 decks than the other ones, just for whatever reason. But they're not a gimme, and just a really quick game. Similo. I'm sure you'll see it some more in the future. And here's a game I have not played very often lately, but I have played a lot in my life. It's one of the first games I ever bought. Was No Thanks. This is a great game. I definitely played this in my 10x10. Had a ton of fun with it. In this game, you have the same question over and over again. Are you going to take the card or not take the card? You don't want cards because cards are points, and you don't want points. However, to not take the card, you have to put a little mini poker chip thing on it, and if you run out of mini poker chips, you have to take the card. However, when you do take a card, you also get the poker chips that are on it, giving you more opportunities to say no in the future. A little twist of the game that makes the whole game work is that if you get runs of numbers together, you only take the lowest numbered card in that run as your points. So I can take the 20, the 21, the 22, still only 20 points. However, I might have collected a few chips on that 21 and 22 when I picked those up because they were basically free cards to me. Anyway, that's No Thanks. If you haven't played it before, I definitely recommend it. I have bought 2 copies of this game because my first copy got entirely worn out. But yeah, No Thanks. Great game. One of my all-time favorites, especially for a short, little filler type game. No Thanks. Red Rising. Played this a couple more. I played it last month, played it this month. Look forward to playing it. It's actually kind of growing on me as you get to know the cards a little better. The one little fault to the game I think other people have mentioned is there's so many cards in the deck, and a lot of the cards very specifically want to interact with other cards, and it's unlikely that those cards will even become visible in the game. There's just so many cards in the deck. However, when you do find a really fun combination, it's fun and it's thrilling, and it's an interesting game. Anyway, Red Rising, Jamie Stegmaier, Alexander Schmidt, Stonemaier Games. Pretty decent game, and something I had fun with. If you have read the books, all the people I've played the game with that have read the books have been super like, oh yeah, that character. Oh yeah, that character. Like, it adds a little enjoyment to them. Anyway, I haven't read the books, so I don't know. Taj Mahal. This is a game I played years and years ago. I got my own copy a few months ago, and finally got it and broke it open. This is a Reiner Knizia auction game, which is very mean, very rude, very tight. What you're doing is you're playing cards to your tableau in front of you. They have different symbols on them. When you retire if it comes back around to your turn, instead of putting a card down, you can retire, and anything that you are currently in the lead of, you will get the benefit of, if it has not already been taken by somebody else who already retired from the round. And it is just an interesting push and pull. The way the scoring works, I believe that there are multiple paths to victory. There's a lot of blocking. There's a lot of running up a bid just to keep somebody else out of it. And sometimes it's not even on purpose. It's like, well, I really want to win the elephants. This other card that has an elephant has this thing on it, which ends up tying somebody else, so they have to play another card. Or maybe they don't have another card and they have to retire and they don't get anything. Anyway, this is a good game. Maybe a forgotten classic to a degree, but really glad I picked up my own copy. Looking forward to play it some more in the future. Number 5, Cartographers. Again, this is a game I played a ton on the app version solo, but I was able to get this out and play it with other people this month, and just a really good game, really good roll and write, or flip and write if you will. And what you're doing is you're trying to create these little maps, and there's different things that will score on the map, and it changes from game to game. So trying to figure out how to do that, how to manipulate your board to score the most points possible. Just real fun game. Anyway, Cartographers. I've talked about it before. Really good game. Number 4, For Sale. Another game that I used to play a ton of. My copy is not so much for me, but I took this on some camping trips a long time ago, and kids played it. Not that they were being bad with it, but it was out in the camping area. It was really dusty. The cards got really scuffed up and beat up. I do have the For Sale Autorama, I believe it's called. I have that coming from a Kickstarter, which I think you can play the regular For Sale, but it has a third round that adds to the game. I don't know exactly how. I think it adds like some special abilities and stuff. So I'm looking forward to playing that when it comes in. But I play this on my 10 for 10. Yeah, just all-time great game. I really enjoy it. Just a clever auction game. If you like auction games that play pretty fast, this one's a pretty good one. For Sale. Number 4, Paleo. Played this last month. I played it again. I have now played all of the modules, the recommended modules, like that kind of tells a story. So I finished all of that. I did not win the last one. I played it a couple times, found it incredibly difficult, and I couldn't figure out how I'd win if it wasn't luck. This is a good game, and I want to say that out front in the beginning. This is pretty well designed. Rulebook has a couple little flaws to it. It's beautiful. The component quality, the art, everything is really good in it. Little controversy about representation in the game, but just focusing on the actual gameplay, it's interesting. It does something different that I haven't really played in other games. The way the deck is constructed, how you can kind of see how things are coming up, but there's still some uncertainty what's going to be behind the card. But what I have found is I've never had a thrilling victory or a thrilling loss. I've either been smoked by the game, or I outlasted that first day in a good enough position where I felt really confident going forward. And it never came down to, okay, I only need to get one more point to win, but it's really close. It's never come down to that. I've either been like chugging along, doing really, really well, or just got beat to smithereens. And I think that's my biggest thing. This did just win the Kennerspiel das Jahres, which is the German connoisseur game of the year. Big award for it. Off the top of my head right now, I'm forgetting what else it was nominated against. I know I played at least one of them, and the other one I have coming on order. I guess I would say it was deserved. I think they did a fantastic job with it. So I'm going to call this my third best game of the month. However, I don't foresee myself ever playing this again. I only played it solo. Maybe I'll give it a go with other players just to see how it contrasts. But I think I'm done with it. Anyway, Paleo. Number 2, It's a Wonderful World, one of my all-time favorite games. Was able to play it. I considered doing this as part of my 10 by 10, but ultimately it's too long of a game. It wouldn't have fit. I would have been rushed. Even if I would have done it solo at the end, I feel like I would have been too rushed to do a good job. Which is actually, I was trying to see how fast I could play the game, which is why I played it this month. And I definitely didn't do very well. I did it twice back to back. It's really fast. I think it averaged about 15 minutes per play, and I just wasn't putting the thought into it. And it was still fun, but anyway, really good game. If you like card drafting, it works really well solo. Works really well with other players. You're drafting card. I think the solo rules were really well thought out, and it is a fun puzzle. With there's a little bit of luck, but there's a lot of good decisions that you're trying to make and trying to make it work out. Anyway, It's a Wonderful World, my number 2 game. I've talked a lot about it, but thumbs up. And my number 1 game, Newton. I played this last month. Played it some more. One thing about this game is I feel it's a little underrated, which is weird because ranked number 358 on BGG. But I feel like this has the same like bone structure as the Voyages of Marco Polo, which is one of my all-time favorite games. However, I feel like it's easier to teach. The actions are a little more intuitive, I believe. They make a little more sense once you really get the concept of how the card play works. It's a lot easier, but there's so many inner moving parts that the game is just interesting. So this is my number one game this month. Look forward to playing it some more, hopefully. Really, like I said, if you like thinky action selection type games, I think this is a really, really good one. It's a little under the radar for most people. Not as well rated as other games, kind of in the same line or category. But anyway, I'm really enjoying it. I look forward to playing it some more in the future. We'll see if it becomes one of these all-time great games for me. But for now, really, really enjoying it. And that is my games. Those are all the games I played in the month of July of 2021. And anyway, let's... I don't know. I need to come up with a tagline.
Where? I'm making a YouTube video, Bev.